Alright, hi folks, let me turn this down a little. So this is going to be a live stream of Pokémon Pinball RS for the Game Boy Advance. I'm playing this on the Wii U. This is the only really official re-release of this game thus far. Hopefully this and possibly the Game Boy Color game will be added to NSO relatively soon. As some of you may be aware, an official Pokemon pinball machine has been announced just a few days ago by Stern, a major manufacturer. At one point, I think they were the only manufacturer of physical pinball tables. There are one or two others, I think, now at this time. But in any case, sort of in honor of that, I guess I'm going to be doing this live stream here. I picked the Ruby and Sapphire A because it was easier than connecting my Game Boy player, which I do have and would be able to play both of the games there, and because the physics here on this one, this was mechanically a much better game than the one for Game Boy Color. The physics are just way better. Still only two tables. They're both well designed, but so on and so forth. As you can see here, I have a game in progress, like the first one. This lets you save your progress periodically. I'm going to take a look here at the Pokédex, which I have partially filled out here. About 97 seen and 95 owned. So you can see I've made some good progress on this save file here. Don't think I've ever actually 100% completed this. And the super rare ones that you have to kind of unlock. Someone did some research on how that actually works with like the e-reader and stuff like that, so that's pretty interesting to say the least. But yeah, so if you have any questions, I will be trying to point out some of the mechanics here and how they correspond to real pinball tables. Obviously, this game takes a fair number of liberties with the what you can do in a real pinball table. But you can see I got Jirachi, which is in this game, along with, let's say I've got two of the three Reggies, so on and so forth. But I do have a game in progress, so let's go to that right now. Coming back from something here, so you can see here's the table. Notice I have Pikachu and Pichu right now. Those are called Kickback. And they last the rest of this ball, which is really nice and not something you're going to ever see on a real-world pinball table. Here's our little slot machine. "30-second timer bonus, and the next task I have will have 30 extra seconds. Let's see, my ball saver, which gives me my ball back if it goes down the tube there. Now I get a new one with this, and so I normally have a minute to complete this, but now we have a minute 30. This usually doesn't take too long to do a travel operation. This is the Sapphire table, which kind of like the blue table in the first game, has a lot of where these high focus on these orbits, which are the things that go around the table like that. Let's go ahead and travel here. Yeah, we're headed to the ruins. Wilmer, once we get a few more lights turned on. Main goal of this table, of course, is to hit those orbits. And that is how you activate the... Okay, I may be going to a bonus game. Let's see. Yep. Don't have a lot of choice on this one, unfortunately. We're going to the Celio minigame, which basically is a weird version of basketball. And I'll have 2 minutes to complete this. Get points for a couple things here. The main one is to get either your ball or the sphere into the hoop there by having the... See if they'll do that. Oops. Okay. Yeah, if you hit the Sealio while they're trying to bounce the seal into the hoop, they can lose their spot. Maybe a little crowd cheer. Get much more points for bouncing the seal in there than you do for that. Personally, since the only thing you can do in this game is score points, it's a little annoying, which sounds a little weird for a pinball table, but since this game has the secondary goal of catching as many Pokemon as you can, it does kind of take up time there. And this, unlike some of the other the regular bonus games, you cannot choose not to go to this. You just kind of have to avoid it. I do like the music in this one. It's somewhat placid and cute, and obviously, you know, so they knew what they were going for with this one. The last 15 seconds, and that tells you, hey, you're running out of time. This one has no definite end point, like you're not trying to knock out a Pokemon or catch it or anything. So it will... Now, I didn't quite demonstrate it there, but... because it takes a couple times before it actually makes the shot, but if your ball is in midair, and even going to the hoop when the time runs out, you do not get any credit for it. It just stops the game while the ball is in midair, which is not how basketball works. Someone forgot to tell the guys. Could get an extra ball. Am I? Yes! Alright. Trico puts that down there. I like the little animations. Hopefully they'll have something like that on the table that Stern is putting out. Up there you'll see the egg that you can hatch. Okay, now the Evo is lit because I have all 3 green arrows, and it got in there. Physics here, like I said, they're still a bit fantasy, but they are much more grounded than the thing there. So what I'm looking for here, oh, I don't have Magikarp evolved yet, so let's take care of that. Is one I hadn't evolved yet to complete the Pokédex. Here you just gotta grab the experience. Unlike in the Game Boy Color game where you have to find all the evolution stuff, in this one the things just appear on the table, so it's much easier to get these evolutions done, and the catching is also simplified. Alright, relatively easy there. In the Game Boy Color one, it was pretty common because you had to find the stuff, then collect it, and then eventually evolve. Much harder, much easier to lose your ball during the process of catching or evolving. So I got 2 there. Balls here. You notice Jirachi in there. I already have that in my Pokédex. See, okay, now we're going to do a hatch operation. So this thing of having things like rolling around the table, I don't know how they would do that in a real pinball table. It doesn't really seem likely. But here you just have to hit it twice. You got it! Whew, didn't know if I was going to make it there, but it did. Alright, so as you catch and evolve Pokemon, you get to go to a series of these mini-games. And there's a whole progression of it. So first we're going to see the Duskull one. Functionally, this is pretty similar to the, if you played the first game on Game Boy Color, the Ghastly and Haunter Gengar one that you're trying to hit some targets. So for now, we just got to get all these Dust Skull. Overall, doing pretty good here, I think. Okay, I guess this is the last one. There we go. I'm not sure if they disappear there if you actually lose them, or if they reappear somewhere else, or what happens there. Alright, now we get the full boss, Dusclops. Dusknoir was, of course, a 4th generation Pokemon. This only goes through Gen 3. Wait for it to start moving, or hit it in the back seems to be fairly lenient as well. Oh, there we go. Relatively easy there. I've had times where it has not been that easy. Worth noting, there is like a competitive speedrunning category for this, which is to get through the main loop of bonus stages as quickly as possible, and people do it head-to-head. So they figured out, despite this being a pinball game, which often seems very random, there you go, yeah, those are rollover lanes in the top there, where you can advance your ball there. And we got another chance to do an evolution here. Now, this is a really forgiving table, provided you can sense which flipper to go up with. Well, one of these days I'll get it in there. There we go. Silcoon, we already got a Beautifly. And, yep. So this you see if you've already gotten them. And, yeah. Oh, I got Jigglypuff, Tentacool, yeah. Azurill, Marill, and Azumarill. Okay, I think that we went full cycle here, so let's just do Bagon. And you notice it does show experience spawns on the table. If the Pokemon needs an evolution item or a link cable or something like that, that will appear instead. Yep, after a minute your ball does go down a level if you don't keep bumping it up on the multiplier. Except in the bonus games where it'll go down if you lose it. There we go. And down, 2 to go. So we're hit on this ramp. Alright. Like I said, unlimited kickback for the rest of the ball is not something you're going to see on a real pinball table. You notice we get 2 of those on that counter down there for an evolution. You get 1 for a regular catch. Every 3 you get a chance to do a bonus game. Oh, we're going to go to catch a mode. So let's see, who do we get here? I think that's one of the Reggies. Reggie Steel, I believe. Now, in the original Game Boy Color game, each of these was 1 on there, so you had to hit bumpers 6 times. Actually, sometimes more, because if too close together they wouldn't register. Here you only need to do it 3. 1, 2, and then 3 panels get revealed on each hit. And also, this was made a little easier. You only had to hit the Pokemon 3 times instead of 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th time to catch it. Alright, we're going to go to another bonus stage. This is the Kyogre, I forget which one is the correct pronunciation, bonus stage. As you might guess, the Ruby table has Groudon. Ball is frozen by that, whatever that is out there. Icy Wind. I assume these have canonical names. Ooh, almost got it caught in these whirlpools. It's pretty hard not to. I think in this case I might just be better off waiting for them to subside, and then we go into the next phase. Not sure if I got 1 or 2 hits there. You can see that little splash tells you where it's going to spawn. Didn't quite get it there. Now you notice I can actually use the other flipper to do that, so let's see. Is that gonna... Good, it does cradle in there. I could go for this, although... Yep. That almost always is going to get you into one of those whirlpools and you'll have to wait. They disappear around the time it's going to surface. Now, I don't fail the bonus stage there, but if I did have a multiplier on my ball, I would have gone down a level there. There we go. So we'll stop it there. That's pretty good. If you hit it just the right time, like I said, I think it is Icy Wind. Just from the way it moves out. Maybe it's Blizzard. I'm not sure. Okay. There we go. Forget exactly how many hits it takes to do this one. Didn't quite get the timing there. Yeah, handy little tip, you can break the ice with the other flipper, so you can cradle it this way without having to keep on going there. I have to decide if it's worth it. I think I'm on a good pace, so I don't really need to go risk it there. Let's see what we got here. Ideally, you can get multiple hits on these if you get it just in the right spot. See, I think I got 2 there. So it should be pretty close to done here. There we go! And so 50 million points. Times 1, since I just have the regular Pokeball. Press A to stop the score run up there, or to make the score run up just finish right away. Didn't really use 777 for the slot, but there's nothing like that on there. Let's see what we got here. Unfortunately, I'm already maxed out on coins. Those can be used with the market. I wish the market was a little easier to get to on this game. I'm not really shooting for it at the moment, since... Evolution, but we really do need to catch something here, because I don't have anything left to evolve that I don't already have in the Pokédex. Alright, Evo is back again. Let's see. Oh. Yeah. Since I've played this a fair bit, I can usually guess which of the flippers I need to go in, so I don't, you know, just miss one. Really trying to get the get active. The way that one works is pretty much the same as the first game. You have 3 lights there. Every time you go through the counterclockwise orbit on this one, it lights up 1, up to a maximum of 3. You can, once you get to 2, you can start doing catch. If you do put it up to 3, though, you get a better chance of getting a rare Pokemon. Now, one of the worst places the experience or item can appear is in between the bumpers. Very much luck as to whether it goes in there. A little too early or late there. As far as the ball's movement, I do know that there's also like a little per frame like randomness factor whenever it gets hit by something, or whenever you hit it with flippers or something like that. So the... Oh, great. That's just like I told you. Alright, let's see if we can do this one. It'll either come probably very quickly or take a very long time. I've got a minute to do it. Now, one bad thing is if I don't make this, I don't get to keep the experience I had before, which, especially with experience points, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. That's not how it works. There are some ways this game could better represent the franchise a little more cleanly. That at least don't seem like they would take a lot of changes, but I guess maybe you didn't want to remember all the things you had done the last time you got that. Oof, that was a little scary. Okay, I'm going to try and tilt the table. There we go! Yeah, sometimes you gotta do that. Now you can tilt the table on this as much as you want. There is no tilt sensor. So as much as you need to, you can do it. Now if I can just get into the... Ugh, that was close! That was close. Alright. Yeah, slot machine comes up a lot, especially if you know how to manipulate it. Every time you press the flippers, those lights on the bottom as well as the rollover lights at the top will move over one slot, and so you can use that, especially with the kickback, to really manipulate the stuff there. See, as I'm pressing the A button there, that light on top, and the same thing for the ones on the bottom. Okay, gonna hatch another Pokemon here. Let's see who we get. Eaglybuff. Yeah. Music is pretty good in this one. It does not have anything from the anime like the Game Boy Color one has Aim to be a Pokemon Master, which is probably why this one is on Virtual Console and that other one never was. When in doubt, blame music licensing. Alright, now we're back to the Duskull bonus game. I can choose not to do it, I can choose to skip it, but... Now this theme, we did talk about in our discussion. If you look back, I believe it is episode 45, I want to say? I'd have to double check that, of the podcast. And I interviewed someone who did a cover, which was kind of fun. I think that's a few episodes earlier. Like I said, you don't insta-fail this. But if I did have ball multiplier, that would have lost it. Okay. And it plays pretty much the same way, we just gotta wait. Now, one interesting thing, you may remember that the Game Boy Color one had a rumble pack built in. This game has rumble technically, but only on the Game Boy player. It was specifically designed for that. So I would feel that. As far as the sound, I do think the ball should make some heavier sounds there, but I think it doesn't just because the Game Boy Advance internal speaker was just relatively tinny. That's a common kind of problem. Got it. All right. Now, if we didn't knock out Dusk Clops there, we would have to redo this again the next time we trigger a minigame. Alright, so where do we want to go from here? Notice there I hit the flipper a couple times to move that light over. Let's see what we get. Okay, you can also go potentially straight to Evo or Catch-em mode. Again, we don't have anything that needs to evolve, so... See, here's Voltorb, so that should be... Let's see it up there. It's probably on the... Oh, there it is. It's right in front of the Plusle and mine, and on the shop thing, or whatever it is. It's a shop/Evo thing. You can see there, I was able to make that work. Alright. Oop. Has to bring the thing up there. Not quite. Can I get it up there? I was hoping it would. Okay, there we go. Gotta get my electrode. There we go. Now the ball speed is also not as fast as you will see on a regular pinball table, as if the incline on the table is shallower. So be ready for that as well. There we go. Well, I could choose whatever I want here, but I think... There we go. Yeah, that zigzagoon, the switch on the right, every time you hit it, it changes its position. And if it's in the right position, it'll give you a chance to pick whatever you want there. As long as you can reasonably good at timing. There we go. You can see that slot machine is really easy to game if you know what you're doing. Nice to have this as well. Let's see what we got here. So to get that market in there where I can spend coins and buy stuff, I need to hit the plus and the minus switches in relatively quick succession. So I'm pressing the A button to move those rollover targets, which are often right above the bumpers like this. Those Shroomish are. Doing quite well there. I got it up to Master Ball status. Hoping it would go in the Whalmer there, but not quite. Pin that. Ugh. So rather than doing it this way, we'll do it this way. That appears to be Reggie Rock. Now I get that, of course. Any questions about this game, feel free to ask them in the chat, or if you're watching this on replay, in the comments. Almost got all three of them in one, which case you get a little animation. I do wonder if there is a catching mechanic in the physical Pokémon Pinball table Stern is making, if they will have a a similar thing where you have to hit the bumpers to, I guess, ostensibly weaken the Pokemon. I guess what you're trying to match there. Now, if you have memories of this game, which I hope a lot of you do, please do share those as well. I do remember getting this. I have a physical copy as well, and now we're going back to this. I do like this intro music here. It's a little menacing, finding the box legendary. I believe this time we will have to hit it a few more times for this to complete. And hopefully I can do that without having the ball drain, because I've got this Ultra Ball. I'm going to play it safe here and just kind of wait. Nice, 2 hits there, you could hear them. Nothing there. Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm going to have to hit this out as soon as it... Yep. Better than letting it drain and losing stuff there. Didn't quite get it there in time. Not doing too well here. May not be able to clear it on this attempt unless I get some... Jeez, too soon. I don't know, this is really bad. Eventually that will defrost on its own. Okay, to get 2 hits there, so... Jeez. Okay, yeah, you hit it during that animation. I don't know if that's Blizzard or Icy Wind. I think we're going to have to reattempt this in just a little bit here. Seconds. I'm going to have to... Jeez. Well, not this time. Well, that's fun. Womp, 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 womp. Yep. Okay, so this one is a short one. Jirachi's going to appear here, and we've got 30 seconds to hit it, I think 3 times. Okay, 1. There we go. Already had in the Pokédex if you saw it earlier, so not a huge deal here, but hey, bonus points. So after a minute there, you notice our ball multiplier went down. Shoot, messed up that. Didn't get that either. Okay, we're going to do a catch 'em here. And we got the Reggie Ice. And all three of them. I thought they were split between the tables, but I guess not. Yeah, this is not as intense as it could be for a pinball game, let's put it that way. Whoop, there we go. I was trying to get into the actual hole there, but... Yeah, I got the full Igglybuff line anyway. Let's go ahead and do it there. Okay, not sure... Oh, okay, that's where it is. Not quite. I don't feel there's really too much in the way of lag or anything on this version. It might be a little better on an actual Game Boy Advance. Alright, so now we got the tricky place in the middle of the bumpers again. Let's see if we can get up there. Okay, luckily, just before the ball save ended there, you know, there's a center post and down towards the middle. Another thing that tends to make these more forgiving. Ah, didn't quite get it up there. Nope. FYI, some more terminology. Those green things down there are called slingshots in pinball terminology. Okay, let's see. You'll notice that during... not sure we've gone this in anyway if I tilt, unless I tilted it properly, but... Alright. But this is a good time to show you. Now, even though I got 2 out of the 3 EXP things last time, nope, starting from 0 this time, unfortunately. It's an easier set of 3 right now. There we go. Okay, well, we'll get another chance to get another chance now at you know, I used to remember exactly how to say that, and it's not a rare Pokemon, but... Well, I can't remember. Is it Kyogre or Kyogre? Some of the music here, even though it's on the Game Boy Advance and not the DS, does seem a little bit... like some of the Ranger games stylistically, but definitely is not the same people. So I don't know if people who did the Ranger games took notes from this, and that's why it sounds similar, or what. Ooh, that was nice. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to get... Yep. But the 2 ones there, if you time it right, you can get 2 or even more on some of those. So, off to a better start here. Hit it just a little too early to negate its attack there. Okay, good. I could get 1 there. I was a little worried. Let's see if I can get it. If you can get it just as a... Ooh, wow, that is really good. That was like 4 or 5 in a row. Like I said, if you get it at the right spot at the right time, you can do a ton of stuff there. Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that... Like, I think the hitboxes on those whirlpools should be a little bit smaller so that it feels like there's, like, a legitimate way to avoid them. Nope, didn't quite make it. Ah, shoot, and that was on the right flipper, not the left one. Okay, I think I've got this one. It's that, ah, shoot. Bit of a decision about when I wanna... Well, I need to do it... There we go, and we catch it! The second time around on these legendaries, you do get to catch them. Figured I was on a good pace there with, like I said... There's another one there, but I think I will go... I'm going to grab that. I don't want to go to the next bonus stage just yet. I want to show a little bit more. You can probably tell from that silhouette who that is. It's interesting how the who's that Pokemon stuff seems to have... Well, technically I guess that goes back to kind of the Pokédex, because in the Pokédex, a Pokemon you've seen but not caught is a silhouette on it. And that may have been loosely inspired. I forget what it's called in Japanese, but the who's that Pokemon thing there. So yeah, after you hit the C dot 3 times in relatively quick succession, they go away after a little bit. Nope, not what I wanted. I just have to hit either orbit. Nope, not that one. That's the ramp. Looks like I might not make this one. I don't know. Let's see. There we go. Okay, we got the orbit. Alright, now the nice thing about that Whalmer is it does push it right into the magnetic field there, so let's go ahead and... It's kind of done there. I think we've got most of the one. Now we're headed to the forest area. Yeah, they don't have too many, like, actual areas based on the game, really. Unlike the first game. That's another change. There are some definite things I prefer about the first game, but mechanically this one is generally just better. You want to be careful about moving both flippers at the same time, because that can create a wider space. Okay, we're going to hatch this one first. Let's see what we get. Ralts. Okay. There's other stuff going on. I do hope to be getting the next episode of the podcast out. Not sure exactly when, but Anne did get me some audio back on the Pokemon Go episode. You can obviously dig through and find the live stream we did back in 2024. This will be the nice polished, edited version, so that's good. Following that will be... let's see, an episode order. Next one after that is other Game Freak games and their music. And then Smash, I call it Smash for 3DS and Wii U. There we go. Okay, what do we got here? Let's go for the ball saver. Usually a good plan there. Right and left orbit. I do have one of those things down. If I hit the plusle one soon enough, and then I can get into the mart. Okay, now I can get into the mart, provided I don't get too many things on evolution, which, like I said, I think they made the mart, I think it's a little easier on the other table here. I'm glad they added it. That is a new feature, if I remember correctly. Ah, jeez, come on. No. Yeah, finally I get to show this, thank goodness. So you have a variety of things you can buy. You can buy savers, buy an upgrade. Obviously I can't buy more kickback because I already have that. Bonus challenge that I do not want to do. And since I'm maxed out, may as well buy the extra ball. There we go. Got 5 coins there. Coins themselves are worth points, so it's not like you're totally out of luck there. Alright, now I can do the evolution. Remember, evolution is worth 2 of those Pokeballs down there, so we'll go to the next bonus game as soon as I can trigger this. Or we can do the slot machine. See if I can wait for Ketchum to appear. Yeah, there we go. Would rather kind of do that. Okay, we got either a Silcoon or a Cascoon. Which looks like a Cascoon to me. There we go. Notice there's 2 sets of things there to represent the catching thing. Nope. I don't claim to be a pro at this game. I don't have the physics. Oh, now we're getting our travel operation. Yeah. So some areas you do have to travel a couple, like that ruins there, I think you have to travel a couple times before you can get there, but that's much easier on this one. A, because the physics are more consistent. And for a couple other reasons. That is one problem. The first game, the Game Boy Color game, has tons of different locations, and you're stuck with kind of the initial ones until you get to like 3 or 4 travel operations in the same game, which is a little annoying. I do wonder if locations will be a factor in the table that Stern is putting out. Alright, more basketball. Boy, 3 in a row. Like I said, getting this feel in there is much more... Let's see, what else do I know about this game? Like I said, someone finally did figure out all the stuff regarding like the Johto starters, which are pretty much the only ones from that generation, unless they were in Ruby and Sapphire, from the Johto generation you can get. how that all works. And like I said, it seems to require an E-card from Japan that never came out here in America, and so on and so forth. But they've figured out the mechanics behind that. It also makes some of the other legendary Pokemon, like Latios and Latias, are both in this one. I guess those are technically, I think those might technically be mythical, but you get the idea. There we go. One for each table that have a very low chance, and I think that boosts them. There we go. Now, my ball wasn't really moving in that direction, hardly at all, but yep, cartoon physics. But this does have e-reader integration, at least in the Japanese version. I think they made that either more obscure or whatever. And also trade high scores with folks, which I think is also how some of that stuff spreads. I think this will get through before, yeah. Like I said, if it's in mid-air, it just vanishes where it is. It does not count. That's not how basketball works. There we go. Pelipper drops it right there. Okay. Yep, grab some more coins. There we go. All right, let's see. Doesn't well, let's see. It's Casco. Now we already have Dustox, so that's fine. What about? Ooh, we do not have Curlia and Gardevoir. No Gallade again. 3rd generation. Would be kind of nice to see a version. There's an alternative version, I'll leave it at that, of the Game Boy Color one where they added in 2nd generation stuff. And there was a pitch for a 5th generation Pokemon Pinball game made by the folks who did Metroid Prime Pinball on the DS. They also did Mario Pinball Land on the GBA, which that one's okay. It's got some weird physical stuff, or weird physics things that I don't like about it as much. Certainly not as much as this one. They also did Pinball Pulse: The Ancient's Beckon for DSiWare. And they, in between all that, they did pitch whatever it is, the trying to get that ramp there. To Nintendo or the Pokemon Company or whatever, a 5th gen one, so that would have been on DS/DSi most likely, or maybe even it might have gotten bumped to 3DS, so who knows there. It involved some like PvP aspects and like gym battles, which are not represented in either of the games. Okay, come on, get in there, yes! But that never really came to fruition, unfortunately. But there's a Did You Know Gaming where they talk to the folks involved. The actual studio, I think, does not really exist anymore. Someone owns the rights, but they haven't done anything. Oh boy, yeah, I wonder who that is. Oof. Gee, you can probably figure it out from the silhouette, but let's see. Rayquaza. This one is, the main tricky part is it's not vulnerable all the time, even when it's on the field there. It has to be at a certain altitude. You can see it hovers above and below. Lightning Bolt will stun your Pokeball if it hits it. So that was a good opening phase, but now it does this. Yeah. does this. I don't know what that is. Extreme speed, I guess? Not sure why it brings up those tornadoes there. And it's what some folks will do in speed running or whatever. Is that they'll purposely drain their ball so it doesn't get knocked to Kingdom Come there. Okay. And that hopefully gives you a better shot here. Unfortunately, yeah, it's really hard there. I wish those things should be a little bit smaller. It just seems like it's not really under... I seem to be doing pretty well here, actually. Let's see, okay. No, I did miss it that time. Let's see. Come over here, Rayquaza. Afraid of that. And unfortunately, there are parts where it just makes you wait there. Again, that's pretty similar to when I was frozen by Kyogre. I know this is Rayquaza. Not sure how I can... Unfortunately, I wasn't sure how we get around that one. Thought that one might get picked up there. It is possible for those things to be positioned where your ball spawns in there. Okay, I think we have this pretty close here because it's not doing the Thunderbolt. There we go. Now, what'll happen now is that you'll go through another cycle of, you know, first two mini games and the first two again and catch that one. Then you would come back here and catch Rayquaza at 99,990,000. Plays for at least a little bit more here now that we've seen the full cycle. And I think the music changed here. After you fight Rayquaza, the music changes. Let's see if we can get, we should be able to get Gardevoir now. Gardevoir, like I said, there's a number of them. One. If we weren't in this mode, that would have launched another egg, but you can only have one. Yeah, Pinball machines have these things called mode, which they're literally called modes here, but whenever you have, you know, the catch-up mode, the evolution mode, the travel mode. And we got Jigglypuff here. So you can kind of see the cycle here. These games can go on for a very long time. If we're playing an actual pinball machine for about an hour at this point, that would be really something. Alright, well, I do have some other things I want to show here. So first off, let's go quick back to the Pokédex and see how much progress we made. Like I said, I can leave that game there kind of indefinitely, as long as my Wii U still works. See, I haven't gotten all the starters. And this is this tune here happens to be from Evergrande City in the main games. See, we got all 3 Reggies. I think we were missing Reggie Steel before. Now if I press select here, you can see they're on table ones for ones that have that. Metagross doesn't. Beldum does. Shelgon does, because you can catch some of these ones. You can catch if they're a 3-stage or sometimes a 2-stage. You can catch both the base form and the middle form or the second form or whatever, because one will hatch from the eggs and one will appear in catch 'em mode. Cute little snow runt. You can tell this must be an egg one because it it turns around there. I didn't notice that. I knew it showed the animation here. I didn't know it pivoted around there. Let's see if we can find another one like that. I think Phanpy is another one that is an egg base. Yes. Versus, let's see, why not? Oops. They left that in there, even though there's no way to make that work on this version. So why not? I have seen but not caught. This is a bigger sprite, of course. This one doesn't pivot around because it doesn't do that. I don't have Pichu. That's one of the rare runs, and I think I'm not sure exactly how that one works. Time Echo, you can. So they did pretty good stuff here. Shuppet, yes. Kecleon. Kecleon has a mini game on the red board, but also you can catch it. And then you see Igglybuff. So this is one of those ones here where you have 2 there. Okay. Yeah, some of the 3 ones are like that. On the options menu, got a sound test here. Now there are a couple songs that are unused in this game that just, I don't know if they had other bonus tables or other events planned. Rumble on or off. I can't change that here, unfortunately, because I need various different controls. Now you can set the shoulder buttons to be the left and right flippers if you'd like. But I recommend not doing that in the Game Boy player, because even though that might feel natural, the problem there is that, remember, those are analog triggers and you have to put some way down and your fingers are going to get real tired there. So do not, repeat, do not do that. Alright, so here's something I want to check. I think we're good here for now. We're going to close the software. Now I know on my Switch I have a couple of the Stern Pinball games. But let me see on here if I've got any of those. I do want to briefly show some of that. Pinball Arcade. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do here, some of these games have licensed music on these tables, so I'm actually going to turn them down. So you won't hear anything from here, but I think I have a Stern Pinball table or 2 on here. I don't remember. Now there was a little bit of a kerfuffle with this on the Switch, because they briefly had some tables that I had to take down. Okay, it was trying to log on. Those services don't exist anymore. Turn this down here. Got. Okay. I think I might not. Oh, wait. High Roller Casino. That is a Stern one. Let me see what else we got in here. Well, technically, this is a little unideal because I don't think this one specifies. So, okay, we'll do High Roller Casino since that is a Stern table. We will briefly take a look at that. Alright, if I remember correctly, the controls here, I press the plunger with the right control stick, which you may notice that Pokemon does not have a way to really control the sensitivity here. Ah, shoot. End of ball bonus. I thought they were on the flippers there, but I think maybe they're on the lower ones there. Let's take a quick look here. Yes, they're on the lower bumpers here for that. So sorry about that. I thought they were on the higher bumpers. Let's see. Okay, those don't have that there. So it's just the ZL and ZR on the gamepad. So hopefully I will show you more this time. So sorry about that. This does have rumble on the gamepad. So as you can guess, this is a casino-themed table, and you notice the couple things about this being based on a real table is that the gap between the flippers is a bit wider. And the ball does move faster. Don't know if I've ever seen this one out in the wild. But otherwise, I mean, obviously this is going for a realistic loop since it is based on a real table. One thing you can do on the Switch that you can't do here, I'm fairly certain, is you can move this to a vertical mode. But if you want to play some of Stern's pinball games, they do have a dedicated Stern pinball on the Switch that you can still buy today, and you can buy tables for it. Nope, I don't know if there'll be a virtual version of the Pokemon table. Stern hasn't done anything new in that area for their tables for a while, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens with that. I am hopeful that this means that the game you just saw and the Game Boy Color Pokemon pinball games are coming. Spin the slot. Speaking of slot machines and pinball games. Well, I got some points off of that. That's good. Lock is lit. If there's no multi-ball on the which is usually the purpose of having locked balls in pinball. No multi-ball in either of the Pokemon pinball games. I guess they wanted to keep it a little bit simple, but that is a pretty standard feature. Alright, we got ball 1 locked. I don't know if there's some sort of skill shot on that roulette table in the top right. And does have a pin in the middle. Boy, that was a not great one for me. Not as familiar with this table. But this table is part of the Stern one on there. Ah, yes, the match. Oh, I had to release my locked ball. And yeah, match. In the real world, the match feature is used to see if you get an extra credit. See, here's a couple classic ones from Williams. These you'll have to get from Pinball FX from Zen Studios, has the modern versions of these. So here's one you might be familiar with. Let's go ahead and take a look at Pinbot. Like I said, again, sorry if the sound off. I know some of these have licensed soundtrack. I don't know that this one does. This one did get added to Pinball Effects, I don't know, within the last year or so. Do have to concentrate more on this. But this is obviously space/robot themed. It has the famous multi-ball where if I can get it to open its visor, I can lock a few balls in there. Not much I could do there. Like I said, a lot shorter games on these. Now, some of these games are available. Ugh. Boy, that's fun when that happens. Most modern pinball scenes will have a ball safe feature that asks for like the first 20 or 30 seconds of each ball. So that if you have one of those cases here, where the ball goes very quickly into the gutter, and give you much of a chance there. Get something up. Yep, it went back into the thing there. That's one thing this ball can do. One thing that has is a skill shot, that thing on the top right when the ball comes off the plunger. If you do it just right, you get a big bonus. Too hard or too soft, you don't get anything. Do one more here. It's doing the match thing. Space Shuttle. I like this one. Unfortunately, this one doesn't seem to have come to Pinball FX on the Switch. Now, one nice thing about the Switch is it has the detachable controllers. You can detach them and then put the system. It's easier with the Switch 2 into vertical, something that's called Tate mode. And then it feels maybe a bit more like a real pinball table. Looks like I got a ball locked there. There we go. Oh, and I advanced the bonus multiplier with that. Let's see, can we get to the... Oops, and here's multi-ball. So yeah, very common on real pinball tables, starting in, I'm not sure when the first multi-ball was. But, like I said, not in Pokemon Pinball. I guess that would be really hard, though, with the scrolling camera, I suppose, without being able to see the whole pinball table at once. That's probably the main reason it's not in there. Now that I think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Very hard to do when you can't see the whole table at once, because you see it's got to zoom out for this. So in some ways on this wide screen, because I can't go vertical, it's not the greatest use here. They do what they can, but on a 4x3 this might actually work out maybe a little bit better, I'm not sure. But obviously then the flip side of that is, lost them both at once. Okay. But you can tell I'm a little better at this one than the other two. Let's see what we got here. But every table will have modes and objectives these days, pretty much. So let's see, I locked a ball in there. You notice down there those lights in the middle show my progression of my bonus, both in terms of multiplier on the green lights, and the white lights show the amount. Bit of an airlock there. As you can guess, this was made in the 80s, around the time the space shuttle was relatively new. Yep. Since I've played this before, I was anticipating when the camera goes like that, you're going into a multi-ball thing. See what we can do here as far as In multi-ball, it's mostly just about, you know, keeping your stuff going there. Not much I could do about that one. Alright, I think we're going to go in this one until it goes on. If I get a good chance to pause, I may turn the sound back on. I don't think this one has any licensed stuff that'll get picked up by Content ID. I could be wrong. Let me pause the game there. And let's see, go into OBS and turn the... there, and... nice spacey sounds in this one. This one does have a bottom ball saver, actually. There's a heat shield that comes up during certain points. I think that is it. Hear that counting down for all the multiplayers I got. Okay, looks like I do have... must have gotten... I think this is still ball 3, so I think I must have gotten an extra ball in there. Because I do want to upwind into one of the locks there. The ball doesn't maybe move as fast, but I still think it's much faster than in the Pokemon pinball games. I guess I should mention the other pinball Nintendo thing coming up. In about a week and a half, they have Galactic Pinball for the Virtual Boy. This is a pretty good game. I've played a fair bit of it, owning a Virtual Boy and picking that up, so recommend that one. Oddly, it uses pucks instead of balls, but it is otherwise, so I think they glide a little more than this. And there's the airlock there that saves your ball sometimes in that right out lane. Usually flipper return lanes, which are the ones that go to the flippers, and then the out lanes, which are the ones that go like that! No match. Like I said, if those match, you usually get like a replay. Alright, so let's see here if I can get... oh, this is fun. In case you're curious, the E stands for Edward. Alright, so smack dab in the middle. Would have been nice to get number 2 on there. DAD. CRT, cathode ray tube. RLS, not sure on that one. And yeah, I guess stuff towards my Hall of Fame. Let's see, let's go to the table menu. can see there's stuff here. So yeah, lots of video game pinball out there. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. So very excited to find out what Stern has in store for us with their Pokemon-based pinball table. But yeah, give us any comments that you happen to have there. Oh, is this live? Okay, so I do want to read a comment here. DR Pinball sounded like a Pokemon Stadium type game they're doing. Well, we did have, if you look at that trailer, which you can check out, there's not a whole lot to it. You do hear some stadium announcer voice. I don't know if it's like from the stadium and they've maybe found the original recordings, because it's much higher fidelity than the N64 version of Pokemon Stadium. Or if I think Ted Lewis is still around, if they got him to record some new lines there. Ted Lewis, most famously, besides this announcer stuff he would do in the first couple seasons, voice of Tracy Sketchit. So that's why the stadium announcer sounds like a more excited version of Tracy Sketchit, for what that's worth. But if that's going to be prevalent throughout the game, that's going to be a lot of fun, I think, in there. If that is the fact there. Didn't really get to see much of the actual table, if any, in that thing there. But very excited for that. We'll know more. I hear that Stern is doing some events later this week, so hopefully they'll have some more details out relatively soon. And I do hope that the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games are coming to NSO sometime soon. I know that your next chance to see the table, opportunity for public to see the table, is next month at the Texas Pinball Festival, or Expo, where it's called, in Frisco, Texas, which unfortunately is the same weekend as regionals in Houston on the other side of that state. I do expect to be able to get a chance to play it in April at the Midwest Gaming Classic in Milwaukee, since Stern is usually, they're based in Elk Grove Village, which is in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, just outside of O'Hare Airport. They're usually at almost always, if not always, at the Midwest Gaming Classic, showing off some of their newest tables, where I got to play Jaws for the first time when they debuted that a couple years ago, and whatever else they're up to. So those will be your next opportunities if you don't see it at a pinball parlor or arcade near you. But thank you very much if you made it all the way here. Hope to see you again soon.